So you're going from one home to your next home. There's a lot of different processes that you can use to do that. Some different strategies that we can work on. We've talked about some of them in previous videos, and today we're going to be talking about how you can sell and buy in the same process and what that looks like. Let's go over some pros and cons next. Hey, Dave Edwards here, and today we're continuing our series about how you get from that one house to the next one. And today we'll be talking about how you sell and buy. Previously, we talked about how you sell and then buy, but today it's sell and buy. We got some pros and cons to go over, and you can get your own copy of this worksheet. It's a long one, just by going to our website and getting that downloaded. You'll want to do this because there's some things on here you might not have thought of, and it could impact the decisions that you make. And you know, that's really what we're all about here at the Treasure Valley Dave team, is giving you the information, good information, that you can use to make your decisions that are going to be best for you and your family. So who is this best for? So this process, sell and buy, is best for people, most people, I will say, and it can be stressful. So if you're a nervous Nelly and you can opt for one of the other processes, that might be the way to go. But what people use this process for is because it really shortens that stressful period. It can all be over in about 82 days is on average. And that's from the time you put your current house on the market until you get closed on your new house. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And if you have other things going on in your life, you might want to wait until those things are under control, because this can cause a lot of stress. So let's talk about some of the pros of going this method of selling and buying at the same time. So you won't be homeless except for maybe a day, maybe 2 days. And the reason I say that is that we might end up selling your current house. We close on Tuesday, and then the county doesn't record your new transaction until the next day on Wednesday. And until it's recorded at the county, it doesn't happen. So you might end up staying in a motel overnight, and your stuff might be on the back of a U-Haul overnight. So, but by and large, you're not going to be homeless. Another great pro is that you will have a very good idea of how much equity from your old home that you can use as your down payment and to put that equity into your new home. And the way that you know that is that your agent is going to do what we call a net sheet that shows after your expenses, after paying off your current mortgage, and then maybe we'll even throw in whatever repair things you're going to do, but the bottom line amount of money that you can project to be putting into your pocket. Another pro is that you can take as long as you want to get under contract with your buyer, unless you've already found a home that you really want to buy. And so we went through this too. We recently moved from one home, and we did this process, sell and buy. And we were looking for something particular, something that would fit our needs now. And because our needs have changed since we bought the first house, and we found it. And it's like, oh my, all right, well, let's get going before somebody else gets in on this. So that means we could no longer take our time selling our old house because we found a new house, and we were very motivated to get into that before somebody else did. Another pro is that once you do get under contract with a buyer, things do move very quickly, and you'll be in your new home in just a matter of weeks. It could be 21 days, could be 30 days. A lot of it depends on the lender, on how fast they can get all that underwriting done. But we'll work with you on that. Another pro is that you only move once. Saves the expense and the hassle of moving twice. Well, and I say this, but so like I said, we just went through this as well. We did need to get a short-term storage unit, and we put some stuff in there to get it out of the old house. So one option you have is to rent a storage unit. It could be a huge one like this, but if you don't have 300 boxes of books like I do, maybe a smaller one would work out. And this really isn't that expensive. This is $140 a month. I mean, and you're only going to use it for a couple of months. It's probably a really good investment, don't you think? And Let's go over some cons, and then we'll go back to some more pros. So a con of doing the sell and buy all at one time is that you've already found the home that you want to buy. Then you'll need to get your old house listed and under contract with a buyer very quickly. And that's very true. And that's exactly what we did. So it's like a dentist doesn't do his own teeth or a brain surgeon doesn't do his own. So I had Treasure Valley Marine handle everything for me. She came up with a price and a marketing strategy for my old house. And it was very attractive. We went slightly under the market value, which got us a lot of interest. And we had an offer within like 36 hours. And it ended up being 10,000 over asking. So that worked out great. But there was that pressure that we needed to price it right. Another con is that if you need to sell quickly, you'll have to price your home to sell. Kind of what we were just talking about. And it can have an impact on what your next home looks like. So maybe you only get 10,000 less than you were expecting, and you've been waiting and waiting, and no other offers are coming in. It might have an adjustment effect on your next house. So that's a con. Another con is that you have limited time to get repairs made on your current home, but then really, shouldn't they be already made? So yeah, it's like that Parkinson's law. I think we talked about that before. Wherever you have a job to do, it's going to take as long as the time that you have for it. So if you have 2 months to do a little job, it'll take 2 months. But if you give yourself only like 2 days, guess what? It'll only take 2 days. Another con is the timing of getting your home under contract with a buyer and getting under contract on your new home with a simultaneous closing dates can be stressful. Yes, there's a lot of balls in the air, a lot of things that happen or have to happen, at the right time. And you really do need to, you need a good team on your side to make sure that all that does happen. Another con is that you may have to negotiate with your buyers to stay in the home after closing for a short time. And that's not really a con, especially if your buyers agree to it. So it might be you close on the house you're living in and you say, can I have an extra 2 days, an extra week? And then you can use that time to move into your new home, which you already closed on, hopefully the same day that the house that you had closes. So that's always something to ask for. And sometimes it's not going to work out with your new buyers, but sometimes it will. And it's like, yeah, no problem. Another con is that you will have to remain flexible while hopefully finding a buyer who is similarly flexible. And then the seller of your potential new home who is also flexible too. So that kind of goes back to the previous thing. It's like if we need to ask for a couple extra days, or maybe your seller, maybe there's something that needs to be repaired before you can move in. Maybe, I don't know, whatever it is. We're hopefully that they'll be as flexible and making sure things get done and help all these processes work out. And, typically they do. If another con is if there's a gap between the closings, you could stay with friends or family or motel or an Airbnb. Could be a day or it could be several days, especially if there's a weekend or a holiday involved. All right, as Paul Harvey would say, page 2. All right, so let's look at some more pros. Hopefully we didn't stress you out too much on those cons. Avoid getting into a longer term lease than you need if you are renting between selling and buying. Another pro is if financing, you would only be making one mortgage payment at a time. Here's a bonus tip is that you may be able to skip a month, possibly 2, depending on when the closings happen. So that'd be a little extra money put in the bank account for some cushions. Another pro is that if you are getting a mortgage on your new home, it will be easier to qualify by not having a mortgage payment from your old house. Another pro is that builders and sellers of new construction homes often readily accept offers that have a contingency for the buyer to close on their old house. So what all that means in plain English is that you've got your house over here, you got to sell before you can buy your new house. If you're going with a regular existing home, these are just regular people that own this house over here, they see that you have to sell your house over here, That's a risk that they're taking on by taking their house off the market while you're going through this process over here. But now builders, oftentimes, they will have, because this is something they deal with all the time, and they're big enough they can financially take a little bit of a wiggle room. So they say, yeah, you can go ahead and have your house over here. We'll get you under contract over here. We'll get this house finished up. And then, but at some period of time before closing, then you need to have sold your old house. So that's a good thing. It might be something that helps you get into at new construction. And oftentimes, and I won't say always, but oftentimes, builders will have incentives for you, whether it's to help buy down interest rates or money for closing costs, or even things to upgrade. Maybe they'll put a backyard in or blinds and garage door openers. All right, so we have one more pro, and then we'll get to that, back to those old cons. One pro is that you won't have the time to accidentally spend your equity from the sale of your old house before closing on your new house. So a con, let's go down the last of our cons for sell and buy at the same time. Sellers see a big risk in your offer that has a contingency to close on your old house. We were just talking about that, and that can make your offer on your dream house less attractive. And if there's multiple offers, the seller may not go with yours. All right, another con is that you may not have much cash for earnest money because it's all tied up in the equity of your home that you're selling, and less earnest money makes your offer look a little bit weaker. And I'll tell you a quick story is that I did have a person that needed to move from their house to another house. They needed their money for the moving process, and they didn't really have any money that they wanted to put down for earnest money. We put zero down. And the seller's agent calls me up and goes, is this a typo? You put zero down for earnest money? Communication. We explained the situation, and they said, well, that makes sense. I understand that.
Wow.
Got the offer accepted. Our person moved in, and everything's been absolutely great. Another con is that if you do need cash, you could get a HELOC, that's a home equity line of credit, on your current home. But two things: one, it's very expensive, and two, it has to be done before we put your house on the market. So it takes some planning ahead of time. Another con, if you need to sell quickly, you could consider an iBuyer. And those are those businesses that have the model that they come and they offer you cash, or whatever that means, that you get the money, but it's in a matter of hours instead of weeks. Maybe it's 72 hours instead of 3 or 4 weeks. Couple cons, this is in the con column. The offer will be substantially less than market value of your home. I mean, that's where they make their money. And then there will be extra expenses. Anything that needs to be done, you want to make sure you read that contract very thoroughly. There could be some hidden, not so much hidden, but in the fine print of their fees and things like that you'll have to pay. So one last con is getting under contract quickly with your new house means finding a unique property that is going to be very difficult. But if you're getting into a standard home, a regular tract home, nothing out of the ordinary, then it's not that big of a deal. That's the last of the cons. Like I say, you can get your own sheet on this. There's some more information on here that you'll probably want to know about. There's a link around here someplace, so make sure you get that. If you want to talk specifically about what your scenario is, give us a call, text, email. We'd be glad to talk with you. We can set up a Zoom call. And this works too if you are out of state and you need to buy up here in the Treasure Valley. It still works. There are a couple more steps that we are actually very experienced at doing, and we're glad to talk with those with you and bring you some peace of mind and some comfort. And like I say, what we want to do is give you some good information so you can make the best decisions for yourself and your family. Well, thanks so much for stopping by. We got one more video in this series. We're going to be talking about that, and that's going to be buy a home and then sell your next home. How does that work? Well, stick around and we will find out together. See you on the next video.
Hey, thanks for stopping in and learning more about real estate in Nampa, Idaho and the Treasure Valley. If you'd like to learn more, watch this video here next or binge on this playlist. When it comes time to sell a home, buy a home, or even relocate to the Treasure Valley, your Treasure Valley Dave team is your real estate expert by your side, helping you get home.